Hey friends, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast with your host, Kristen,
Nicole,
and Hannah. Come join our porch swing conversations.
filled with lots of faith, hope, and heart. Hey Postables, today we will be recapping Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas. It premiered on November 23rd, 2014.
starring Rob Estes as Jordan Marley, Marion Ross as Marion Gendinger, Ava Tellick as the little girl Hannah, and Kaj Erickson as Hannah's dad, Rob.
Yes, and also stars Leanne Lapp, who was in The Perfect Bride with Kevin and Pascal.
Yes.
And a little trivia, Rob Estes, for all the Gilmore Girls fans out there, he plays Jess's dad. And he was also going to be on When Calls the Heart season 6 as Abigail's love interest. And Marion Ross, you will know her as Mrs. Cunningham on the classic TV show Happy Days.
Yes.
With a duty to deliver every last letter before Christmas, the beloved quartet of post office detectives, Oliver, Shane, Rita, and Norman, are working around the clock to redirect Santa's mail just as Oliver runs into his former Sunday school teacher. When they receive an emotional last-minute plea, not meant for St. Nick, but instead written to God, they must delay their own travel plans to make sure one little girl doesn't lose her Christmas joy. Something Oliver and Shane are also struggling to find as they each face painful holiday memories. With a little guidance from a mysterious post office volunteer, Jordan, the Postables are more surprised than anyone to discover they've been a part of more than one miracle on Christmas Eve. What were your first thoughts on the Christmas movie?
I love this movie. I think it's so great. I think it's the perfect Christmas movie. It makes me cry. It makes me laugh. I love that it has it's a wonderful life theme with, angels and hope. 10 out of 10. Love it. What about you?
Yes, definitely 10 out of 10. One of the best Hallmark movies, one of the best Hallmark Christmas movies that they have ever made.
Totally.
The movie, it starts out with a young girl. She is sitting by her Christmas tree writing a letter. We don't know at the time, but this little girl is Shane writing a letter to God. And then it cuts to a scene of another young girl standing outside Denver Mercy Hospital with her dad, and she's mailing a letter to God. And then the next scene is at the USPS and the end of the annual Dear Santa project. So my first question is, what were your thoughts on Jordan? Like when we first see him, did you think that he would be who he is?
No, not at all. I was as surprised as Oliver when he finds out. But now, of course, knowing that and going back and watching it, I'm like, oh, I see all the clues now. Like, I should have known right away with his last name being Marley. And then, of course, in reference to Christmas Carol. Yeah. And so, yeah, I love the little subtle hints that was dropped throughout the movie, because now it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I thought that they did a good job with, revealing who he actually is.
I totally agree. Yeah, my next point was his line that he tells Shane and Rita and Norman when he says that he was sent there to help troubleshoot the Christmas rush, but there was no trouble. So I wrote in parentheses, well, what could he be there for if he's not there to help troubleshoot?
He's on a divine assignment.
Yes. We find out that when Norman was little, he used to spend Christmas at a different foster home every year. And he was 8 before he had a Christmas stocking of his own. So, which was really kind of sad to think about.
Sad, I know.
Spending every Christmas at a different foster home. So just, moving around a lot.
Yeah. That's got to be hard for a little kid.
Yeah. The Postable's golden rule at Christmas: no letter to Santa shall be unanswered. All gifts and responses must be delivered by Christmas Eve. And then this is the scene, before the Postable and before Shane and Rita go to the salon.
Yes. Yeah. It makes you wonder how they are getting all of these presents to these kids. I guess, do they have unlimited funds? Or are they just kind of telling the parents, like, hey, in case you didn't know, this is what your kid wants for Christmas?
Yeah.
I just wonder how they were able to do all that, to deliver all of those presents.
Yeah, and I loved how, it makes me sad to think about, Shane not celebrating Christmas and, not having any faith at all. But I thought that it was written in a very respectful way of, people that, probably don't celebrate Christmas. Like, she wasn't really a Grinch about it. I mean, she was okay with Oliver and Rita and Norman, celebrating, even though she didn't celebrate herself. I don't know if that makes sense, but
right, yeah, she wasn't like completely like down on their wanting to celebrate it.
Yeah,
but she definitely made it known that she was not celebrating.
Yeah,
Christmas. She wasn't going to her spa, for Christmas.
Yeah,
She was going to be warm for 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So we get to the scene with Shane and Rita. They're in the salon, and they're having their girl talk, and they're talking about Norman, and we find out that Rita and Norman have known each other for 3 years, 11 months, and 30 days. They were both working the holiday night shift, and she tipped over an entire box of misdirected fruit basket catalogs. Norman came over to help her pick them up, and as they stood up together, their heads bumped and banged, she said. I loved that moment.
I know. I love it too. It's like something only Rita would say, like, bang. And Shane's like, bang? What are you talking about?
Yeah. I have it written down under funny moments when they're at the salon and they're talking about, Shane is talking about how it's, time to get things moving with Norman. And she's like, Christmas mistletoe. And Rita says, you mean kiss Norman? And Shane's like, yes, kiss Norman.
Oh, I know. The thought alone is like, Rita's like, what?
What in the world? We get to the Christmas Postable, and Shane and Jordan are dancing, and he tells her that where he comes from, Christmas is a very big deal. That was another sign.
Yes,
right
another
there.
little hint. I know. You don't really catch it first time around.
Yeah, I had an inkling when he said that it
Maybe
was possible he was an angel.
Yeah.
They're having dinner at the Postable, and Shane loses her necklace. And then this is when we find out a little bit about the necklace.
Yeah.
That Jordan found because it had gotten lost.
Mm-hmm.
The inscription on the necklace, it reads, "To see with love, Mom and Dad." And Shane said that that's the family joke, which we'll hear a little bit more about later on in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. I think it's so interesting that she needed to lose her necklace, so that way it brings up the subject of, what was on the necklace. So that way it, connects later on to the letter story. Like Oliver needed to know that to, understand that, in the end, I know we're going to get to it, but, in the end, the letter to God is hers.
Yeah, and I wrote it down under favorite scenes or favorite moments, but I loved how Oliver knew exactly what it looked like.
Oh,
he said something like small gold disc with a purple crystal bead, I think was the line.
Yeah, I know. That just shows you, like, he knows.
He
Shane.
already knows her so well.
He observes. He knows details. Of course, we know that he pays attention to little details,
Yeah.
but yeah, he knows.
The postal ball when they're eating dinner. This is also when Jordan informs them of the young girl's letter that we see being sent at the beginning of the movie in the opening scene. She is from Wyoming. It entered the system that morning and it was postmarked from Denver, like we already know because she sent it from Denver Mercy Hospital.
Yeah.
The handwriting confirms that she is around 8 years old and she used a crayon. The stamp used is one honoring American nurses. Her mom is really sick and the doctor doesn't know what's wrong. She wants to be a shepherd in her local Christmas pageant in Wyoming.
Yeah.
And I wrote this scene under most cheerworthy moments when Oliver is reading Hannah's letter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sad. It's really sad to go through something like that, especially at Christmas time.
Yeah. I can't even imagine.
I know.
The Postables, they're in the DLO after the Postable and they're doing their research to, find the letter writer, Hannah. And Shane accessed the admissions records for 3 out of the 4 major Denver hospitals, but there's no record of a woman being brought in from Wyoming. And I wrote in parentheses in my notes, what was Oliver going to say to Shane when he walked away and then turned back around after talking about Hannah's letter to God? And this was when he was asking her, why are you so bothered about this letter to God? What do you think that he was going to say?
I have no idea.
I've always wondered, what other Postables' thoughts are on that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure. I'd have to rewatch the scene and kind of get a feel for it again.
Yeah, he kind of turns around and he opens his mouth to start to say something, but then he doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably knows to just kind of leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Worse.
Yeah. I love the look on Jordan's face, kind of after Oliver walks away, Oliver walks away and Jordan, comes into view. And the look on his face is just like, he knows something.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Something.
After a little bit more research, Jordan had spoken to someone. I can't remember who it was, but whoever he talked to told him that there was a patient transferred to Denver Mercy from Wyoming in the last 24 hours. So we're finally getting a little bit closer to figuring out the mystery of the letter.
Yeah.
And the identity. Hannah's mom, Amy, I believe is her name. She's having a baby. So Hannah is having a sibling. And she's having a baby brother is what we find out, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
He's not due for another month and they don't want to deliver if they don't have to, which is really kind of scary. She's sick while she's pregnant with her next child.
It is. It's scary.
The Postables, they are going to help bring the Christmas pageant to Hannah. I thought that was really sweet.
Yes, I love that idea.
Such a great idea.
Yeah.
The next big scene is the scene with Jordan and Oliver. And Oliver tells Jordan that his wedding was 3 years ago to Holly. So he's been married about 3 years. But of course, as we have already heard, Holly is no longer present. She's in Paris.
Yeah.
Shame on her. Shame on her for leaving her husband.
Yes, big shame. Her loss.
Yes. Also in this scene, Jordan gives Oliver another letter written to God. I wrote this scene down under most tear-worthy moments. And one of the exchanges in that scene that really got me was when Oliver said that first Christmas was hard, but this second Christmas makes it. And then Jordan chimes in and he says, real. Just like my heart broke for Oliver in that moment.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I do love that scene, though, of them playing chess together because we know that, like, Oliver is kind of jealous of Jordan. He can't quite figure out, like, what's going on.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they would, like, sit there and play chess and drink Yoo-hoo and Jordan gets Oliver to, like, open up to him. And, like, when he asked him about, being married, and he says, well, the wedding was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And, like, you can just see that Oliver is kind of, like, studying Jordan. Like, he's, like, trying to figure out if he can trust him with, this, like, vulnerable, heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
And then we get that again later with Jordan and Shane. She mentions, that he makes it, easy for her to talk to him about that kind of stuff. And, he mentions it's because she's ready. And so I guess in this scene, it's, Oliver is ready to, acknowledge like what happened with Holly and try to get, move through it, move forward.
Yeah. Another thing that really got me from that scene was when Oliver was reading that letter to God, which says, dear God, I miss my daddy. Please make him want to come back home. I just want to have a happy family again.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. One of the next scenes is when they're in the mailbox grill and Rita is helping him try to find the location of this letter to God. And she believes that it came from Tacoma Place, which is a cul-de-sac with about 10 houses. I love how she said that. She's like, you'll only have about 10 houses to go to or something like that.
Yeah. Which is great that they narrowed it down that much. And now knowing, after watching the movie the first time and knowing like that is Shane's, it's interesting how I think it's Rita who suggests, asking Shane to help. And Oliver's like, no, it's okay. Or maybe it's the other way around. I can't remember exactly, but one of them mentions, asking Shane for help. And the other one's like, oh, no, it's okay. We got this. Like, we don't need Shane.
Yeah. Shane's father left the Sunday night before Christmas. This was, we find this out in the scene when Shane is talking to Jordan. Mm-hmm. And her mother never saw it coming, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Another heartbreaking thought, how could a father just leave their child?
Right, I know. We don't really get much of the backstory.
No.
Same thing with, Holly. It's like, oh, how could you leave your husband? But
I know.
People are just crazy.
Yeah. When Oliver was 8, he went to an island near Seattle to say goodbye to his grandfather, since it was going to be his last Christmas. On Christmas Eve, everyone started crying, and he was so scared he ran out of the cottage down to the beach. There was a very nice man decorating a little evergreen tree growing out of a rock right by the shore. And he saw that Oliver was crying, so he let him help decorate the tree. And they decorated with leaves, shells, and anything else they could find. Now, this is the scene with Marion in the mailbox grill. I loved that moment as well.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Hannah's mom has HELP syndrome, which means elevated liver and low platelets. And they're trying to stabilize her so that they can deliver the baby. Mm-hmm. I don't know a lot about that, but that's really scary.
Yeah, it is, especially when like the codes and stuff started going off with.
I know, that broke my heart.
Oh my goodness, it's terrifying. But it's a good thing that Shane was there, to be with Hannah and try to keep her distracted.
We finally find out that Jordan is an angel, and Shane is the letter writer.
Yes, 2 big revelations.
Yes. Shane's nickname is Crackers, and it was a nickname from her parents because she always loved to eat saltines.
Yeah, that's cute.
Which I thought that was really cute, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
When she was a little girl, she lived in Alexandria, Virginia, and the address was 707 Terracoma Place.
Yep.
Oliver is the one who was supposed to deliver Shane's letter all along. I love that.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah, you can see like his wheels turning as she's starting to explain, like C stands for crackers and where she grew up and
Yeah.
her address. He's like starting to realize, that
Yeah,
this was
just
the
like
letter.
his facial expression.
Yeah.
Like you can see that he's realizing that she's the letter writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was awesome to see. Rita and Norman, they met on Christmas Eve. So
Mhm.
this is when they see the owl outside of the hospital.
Yeah.
And they're, saying, we met 4 years ago today or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they both know. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Norman finally has his own Christmas stocking in the DLO, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the last big plot point of the movie is that Oliver took a taxi home and got Shane's necklace back.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Do we want to share some of our favorite scenes from the movie?
Yeah. Right from the get-go, I really love seeing Oliver watching Shane dance with Jordan, and
Yeah.
he's kind of like getting tongue-tied, like he doesn't know, what to say because he's starting to feel jealous, and
Yeah.
the ever so popular "you want some punch." The emphasis on punch is so great.
Yeah. I have a little bit of the dialogue from the dance, and it's after Oliver meets Jordan, and Jordan walks away, and Shane and Oliver, they get into position to dance, and he says, "You're dancing the dance." And then I think Shane says something, and then he says, "You're using my steps to dance with someone else who has not earned the right to dance with the steps." And then I think she says, "And that makes all the sense in the world." And then Oliver says, "Teaching one person's steps learned under the auspices of another is tantamount to theft." And then Shane says, "I was teaching the guy a few steps. I wasn't selling state secrets." And then I think Oliver says something else, and then he's like, "And dip." And then he dips her.
Yeah, Oliver is clearly jealous.
Yes.
He doesn't like that they were doing the dance.
Yeah. And I wrote in my notes under the part about the dip, 3 heart eye emojis.
Yeah, that was a good dip.
Yeah. And then just the look shared between them after.
Mm-hmm.
It was really sweet.
Yeah.
You can tell that there's feelings starting to
come to a head
arise, come to
light,
even though they kind of already were there.
Yes. I also really liked hearing the backstory as to why Rita loves owls. It makes it really cute, at the end when Norman sees one and points it out to Rita and they have their special bang moment.
Yeah, I wrote that scene down under favorite moments as well. When Rita is talking to Hannah about owls and Norman's, sitting right there. I thought that was really sweet.
It was.
I actually have one of the lines written down. She says, "Even if you don't know it, there's always somebody out there flying around that thinks you're special."
Mm-hmm.
And then just the look shared between Rita and Norman, that was really sweet.
Yeah. I have that under lessons learned. One of my lessons learned. What did you think about Oliver cornering the guy in the alley who took
Yes,
Marianne's
I wrote that down.
wallet? Oh my goodness, it's like a whole other side of Oliver we hadn't seen yet. Like Mr. Tough Guy taking off his jacket and
I wrote that down. He says something like, you either do the right thing or you can try and get by me.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote down Jordan first meeting Shane and Rita and Norman. I thought that was an awesome moment. And, just the banter back and forth between all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver delivering the gift to Daryl, even though it was a really short scene, I thought that was a nice moment.
Yeah. And important too, because we see the mom later on at the hospital.
Yeah.
As the nurse.
Yeah. Of course, I mentioned this one, but Shane and Rita at the salon. Oliver and Norman's reaction to Shane and Rita arriving at the Postable. That was hilarious.
I know. I love that moment. Norman is he gasps. He's he can't breathe when he sees Rita in her new dress. I think he calls it festive.
Yeah. And when they walk in, Shane says, "Oh, I think I see a curling cummerbund." And Rita says, "What if he asked me to dance?" And then it cuts to Norman and he's like, "What if she asked me to dance?"
They both had the same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shane's compliment about Oliver when they're in the DLO. And I believe this is when they're, first starting to research the letter. And she says, Oliver O'Toole can deliver a letter to anybody, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, she ain't wrong.
No. Another moment I really loved was the Postables singing the Christmas carols at the hospital.
Mm-hmm. And the dog.
And then the moment with the dog.
Yeah.
That kind of lays down. That was hilarious.
Something about that song, because they sing it later and it does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
The Postables meeting Hannah. I thought that was really a really nice moment, when they first get to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's sweet. She's so cute.
Yeah. Jordan talking to Oliver at the mailbox grill. And he says, I noticed that you call Rita, Rita, but you call Shane Miss McInerney.
Mm-hmm.
And then Oliver says, yes, it started as an office formality, but it just continued. Don't know exactly why I do that. And then Jordan says, I think you do. She's a very special lady. And Oliver says, yes, she is. He knows exactly why he does it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Jordan.
To keep his distance. I think I already mentioned this one, but Oliver seeing Mrs. Gensinger and their conversation at the mailbox grill. I love the line from her when she says, a Christmas tree growing out of a rock. That sounds miraculous to me. And then Oliver says, I think about that tree from time to time, just out there alone in the wind, holding on to that rock, trying to survive. Yeah. And then she says, or maybe the rock was holding on to it.
Oh, I love that perspective. I love it. It's so true too, as Christ being the rock that's holding on to us.
Yeah, so true. Such a great line.
Mm-hmm. Shane
rehearsing with Hannah, and then their conversation in the waiting room when, Hannah asks Shane if she can sit on her lap. That was really sweet.
I know.
And then, and then, she says, I think it was Hannah who said it first. She's like, I like your hair or something. Or maybe it was Shane that said it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, you have really pretty hair.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so sweet. Yeah.
And then Hannah's like,
Rita,
so do you.
Yeah. Yeah. We know that Shane is she's not very comfortable, around children. Maybe she hasn't been around children a whole lot. Because she mentions to Rita, earlier on, but she likes you.
Yeah.
But she does a great job with her, I think. She just.
Yeah, she does.
And Shane knows in a way what Hannah is going through as far as the possibility of losing a parent. She doesn't want that for Hannah because she's been through it herself, and she doesn't want Hannah to, lose hope at Christmas time.
Yeah. I like how she asks about her necklace. Hannah's like, I like your necklace. And then Shane says, thank you. It's my favorite thing in the world. And then she asks Hannah, she's like, what's your favorite thing? And then Hannah says, my mommy and daddy.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's so sweet and sad.
The way she says that.
I know. It's a tearjerker for sure.
Yeah.
And
And then just the way Shane puts her arms around Hannah was really sweet.
yeah. Yeah.
She's gonna be a great mother someday.
Oh, I
We
know.
need to
Hope
see
we can
Shane as
see
a mother.
that. I agree. Jordan and Oliver's talk in the chapel at the hospital.
Yes, that was one of the that's one of the best scenes in the entire series.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe.
Yeah, I agree. So many good moments in it. You know, like before, of course, I find out, you know, who Jordan is and why he's there. Like, you start to see that he's not a bad guy after all. Like, he's not there to like steal Shane away from Oliver. You know, he's there, you know, encouraging Oliver and tells Oliver the what is it called? The story of the fourth wise man.
Yeah.
And he's just reminding Oliver that he doesn't have to be perfect. To that, you know, love came down.
I actually have the dialogue written down.
Exactly, he says, love came down, you know, to make him exactly how he is.
He says, you are so kind to everyone else, but you are awfully hard on yourself. And then I believe there's, you know, some dialogue after that. And then he says, Christmas is an opportunity to remember that love came down to find you right here where you are, with or without a perfect delivery record or a perfect marriage. And it happens year after year in a hospital lobby or a post office, in the woods or on a mountaintop or on a rock by a tree at the beach. Oliver's face in that moment.
As soon as he mentions that, he's like, whoa, you are not from the post office.
Yeah, he says, you're not from the post office. And then Jordan says, I never said I was.
Yeah,
Christmas is a gift. Christmas is a gift, but it's your choice to accept it. And then he says, you take good care of that little letter writer.
Oh,
my heart.
Great.
And can we just give a round of applause to both Eric and Rob?
Yeah, they both did such a great job. I felt
Emmy-worthy acting right there. Or at least some kind of award for that.
Yeah, I know. And isn't it so funny how Norman comes in and he's like, we have a problem.
Yes.
Yes. He's like, around. He's like, okay, maybe this isn't the right time.
But like, way to kind of not dampen the moment, but just like way to
definitely add some humor to the moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I also have that scene under most tear-worthy moments as well. So
yeah, definitely will make you cry for sure.
Oliver coming to the hospital when Shane asks him to, that was very brief. Mm-hmm. But this is when, you know, he walks into the DLO and, you know, he picks up the rotary phone, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And, you know, then Shane answers the phone and she's like, you know, just come, Oliver. Yeah. And he's like, I'm on my way.
Yeah, he just bolts out there.
Yeah.
I know.
Shane and Hannah's conversation right before the pageant. I thought that was a really sweet moment. You know, when Hannah is talking about how she wants her mom to be there.
Yeah.
And Shane says, you're not alone. Maybe your mommy won't be out there in the audience today, but I promise you she'll be right where you need her to be, right here, right where she always is.
Yes. Nice little pep talk.
Yes.
She did good.
Shane giving up her necklace to get the sheepskin. Shane giving up her necklace to get the sheepskin for the pageant. Yeah. I thought that really showed how selfless she is, because that necklace is very important to her.
Yeah, the most important thing. She was willing to give it up to make this girl's, you know, wish come true.
Yeah.
So great.
Of course, Oliver's message to Shane about hope and faith and family and perfect love.
Yes.
Another amazing moment. One of the best scenes in the series. So another one of the best scenes in the whole entire canon.
Yeah, I agree. This is the beginning of her faith journey.
Yes. I actually have his speech written down, and I have it under most tear-worthy moments as well. This always brings me to tears every time I watch it. He says, "We have all lost something or someone that we love in this world, and someone else's happy Christmas can make it hurt all over again if we don't let Christmas do what it was meant to do. You asked God for a happy family. You have one. Embrace it. You have a sweet friend for a sister who loves owls and who bakes the worst cookies this side of heaven. And you have a dear, shy little guy for a brother who thinks this world is amazing and would walk across hot coals to find something new and beautiful in it if you asked him to do it. And then there's me, this odd fellow who loves words and books and things from the past and has spent his life trying to find a future with someone in it to share it with. I haven't been very successful at that yet. I'm not perfect, but through it all, I have learned how to hold firm in a storm, not by holding on to whatever I can find for as long as I can, but by trusting that the one thing that matters in this world will never let go of me. And Shane, that's what perfect love is. Perfect love casts out all that pain, all that fear, and replaces it with hope. And hope is what you were asking for in that letter. In every Christmas since, hope is what you have been given. Don't you see it? It's right here for you."
Oh my goodness. And then the tears are just like pouring out of my eyes.
Yeah, they're about to pour out of my eyes right now.
It's so perfect. It's perfect for both of them, for Oliver to be saying it and to be reminded of it, and for him to tell it to Shane because she's needing to hear it as well. Like it's the answer to her prayer, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I loved how when Oliver was talking about, her family, the Postable's family, like he didn't classify himself as her brother.
Oh, right. Yeah. He didn't give himself a family member title. He's like, you
no.
have me.
No.
Yeah.
Because he's falling in love with her.
Yeah. He doesn't want to call himself a family member.
Yes. And then, that moment after he gives the speech to her and she says, I guess I have to wear the halo now, I think is what she said. And then he asks, do you want to read the letter? And Shane says, toss it. I already got my answer. I love how she places her hand on his heart.
Oh,
she says that. It's so sweet.
Yes. She sweeps it across his chest.
Yes.
Kind of romantic.
And then we can't go without mentioning the, kiss on the cheek and the hug that they share.
Yeah. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, is she about to kiss this man? What is happening? But thankfully, she goes in for the cheek kiss. Not so bad.
Yeah. The Christmas pageant and then the looks between Shane and Oliver, that was really sweet. The pageant was beautiful.
Yeah, they did a great job. Rita and Norman did so well, like getting all the props and stuff together.
Yeah.
They went all out.
Yep. And I loved Jordan's little small appearance at the end. Like when he nods to Oliver and Oliver nods back.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, and in preparing for it, when Rita realizes, she says that they, forgot the most important thing. They realized that they forgot, baby Jesus because they were so busy doing all the other things, which is totally relatable nowadays, We just get so busy, tied up in all the things to do and the things to buy, and forget about the real reason of Christmas.
Yeah. Rita and Norman seeing the owl and gently banging heads. Like the first day they met.
Yes, such a great moment.
I love how he kind of like I love how he kind of, puts his hand on her cheek. That was really sweet. Or her forehead, I think.
Yeah, he kind of
sweeps to make sure her
face.
To make sure she's okay.
I know. It's so sweet. It's so romantic too. I love that for them.
And just the way he looks at her, like, Oh
I
my gosh.
know. I'm like, wow. I didn't know you had it in you, Norman.
Let's see. Smolder. Smolder
Demon.
would be the right.
Smolder. There you go. Yeah. 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 He's normally very like kind of, squeamish around Rita.
Yeah.
In that moment, he just totally like locked eyes with her. And so great.
Oliver seeing the angel and the nativity scene on the way back to the DLO.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great moment.
Shane.
And there are a lot of postables that believe that this could have been the moment when Oliver knew that he was falling in love with Shane. Like when he sees the angel. Because in a way, it kind of looks like Shane.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Like in, the angel costume that she had on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Oliver decorating the tree in the DLO with the song There's Still My Joy playing in the background.
That is like a magical moment.
Yes.
He walks in the DLO and it's like decked out in candles and the tree is there and the note that tells him, it says, what does it say? It's like, here's the tree.
The rest is up to you, I think.
Yeah. And he just starts decorating it with all the little things.
So beautiful.
I know. And then the Postable show back up.
Yes, I have that next to my list.
Yeah.
And Oliver asks, did you miss the plane? And Shane says, we missed you.
Perfect.
Yes. Shane and Oliver teaching Rita and Norman how to dance. That was a really cute moment.
Yeah.
And then, of course, them actually dancing like Shane and Oliver and then Rita and Norman.
Yeah.
Continuing the dance as a couple.
Yeah.
Or you get the point.
Yes. And Norman kind of has this like newfound confidence about him, dancing with Rita. He's like not so.
Yeah, I love how Norman kind of like chuckles as he starts to dance with Rita. He's like, I'm getting this right.
He's so excited.
And I love how Shane and Oliver are just like looking on.
Yeah.
They look so proud of Rita and Norman. But it's really cute.
It is.
Such a sweet moment. Norman finding his own stocking. That was really sweet.
Yeah.
And he says, whoever it was, I guess they wanted it to seem like a real family lived here. And then Rita says, a family does. The last favorite moment I have on my list is Shane finding her necklace on the tree.
Yeah. So great that Oliver was able to recover it for her.
Yeah. I think she said something like, is that, she sees the necklace and then she says, is that? And then she stops. And then she says, how did you? And then he goes on to say that he took a taxi home.
No.
Do you have any funny moments that you haven't already shared?
Yes, I have two. So, of course, we have to talk about Norman's poses.
Yes.
He has 3 different poses. The "Oh Come All Ye Faithful," "Away in a Manger," and "Joy to the World." That one's my favorite.
Yeah, the "Joy to the World" one was my favorite. I love the look on Shane's face too after he does that pose.
Yeah.
He's just like trying not to crack up.
It's so good. I wonder if they gave Jeff like direction or if they were just like, just wing it, just come up with some poses, like, I wonder if he was able to like improvise that.
I don't know. In a way, I can kind of see Jeff just improvising that, but then I could be wrong. Like that could have been in the script.
Yeah.
But just knowing how funny and comedic Jeff is, I could see him coming up with those on his own.
Yeah. It's so good. And then my second funny moment was the bear, the DLO bear being dressed as one of the wise men.
Bertazar.
Yeah.
Our first appearance of Bertazar. Or our first sighting of Bertazar.
Yeah. I loved how Rita thought it was funny too. Like she was giggling along with Norman as they were telling it to Oliver.
Yeah, I love how they like drag it down the street or roll it down the street.
Yeah, like nothing to see here.
Yeah. I think Oliver said something like, has there been a sea change in the Christmas story? This one was in the very beginning, and it was when Rita was trying to hug Norman, and then both of them see the mistletoe. Now, this was like right after Rob or Jordan says, this is the end of the annual Dear Santa project. And then Rita goes to hug Norman. I thought it was cute, though.
Yeah, it is cute.
Oliver walking in the DLO to Shane singing and dancing to Jingle Bells. That was hilarious.
That was good.
When Shane was like, Jingle Bells. And then he says, rallying the troops, Miss Macaroni. Oliver asking about Rita's brownies. And he says, what are these? Hockey pucks?
Hockey pucks.
They fall off a shipment of sports equipment. And then Shane says, Rita has been baking again.
Yeah. No more words needed. Rita and baking.
Yeah. Norman talking about surf and turf at the Postal Ball.
Turf.
Yep. He says, I hear it's surf and turf for dinner. And then Rita's like, turf. That's such a funny word. And then they're like, turf.
They're so goofy together.
And then Oliver goes on to say, turf, an old English word derived from the early Saxon of or pertaining to an area considered another's territory.
Oh my goodness. Of course he would know.
Oh. And then
Perfect
his line a few seconds after that, when Rita says, I think there's champagne over there or something. And Oliver says, one never consumes alcohol when one dances the Roomba. Oh. Shane asking Norman at the Postal Ball if he's going to dance. And then I think, I don't know if she winks at Rita or Norman. And then Norman's like, yeah, I've been thinking about that. I don't think it's a very good idea. And then Rita's face is just like,
oh.
Oh, and then Oliver and Jordan, bantering back and forth about, I guess, like vocabulary terms. And then Shane says, 2 word nerds sitting at the same table at the Postal Ball. It's a Christmas miracle.
Oh, poor Oliver.
Oh my gosh. Jordan wanting to try Rita's brownies, and then Norman changing the subject to the letter. That was hilarious.
Yeah, he's like, let's do the letter instead.
The Postables and Jordan arriving at the hospital with Norman's field kit, and Norman says, we ran into a lot of lights.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they were all decked out with those.
They were
earrings and blinking necklaces.
He was prepared.
Yeah.
Good old Norman.
Or the scene in the mailbox grill. This was after Norman was, doing all the poses, and they're starting to leave, and he says, all right, everyone, let's deck the halls. And Rita walks over to Shane, and she's like, he is so good at this. Shane, when she's leaving the DLO and she sees the angel wings, she says, are those what I think they are? And then Norman and Rita in unison, they're like, no.
Nope. Yeah, she is not about the halo or the wings. But she pulls it off so well.
Yeah. Rita talking about making more cookies. I think this was the scene with Oliver when they're rolling Bertazar down the street. And Norman's like, oh, yay! Like, more cookies from Rita.
Yeah. Well, I love that he finally tells her the truth, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. The line from Shane during the Christmas pageant, I love how she kind of like adds on to, the Bible verse.
And women and children. Everyone.
Yeah. Shane and Oliver talking about Bertazar, at the end of the movie, when he says, the bear may have to stay a day or two. And then Shane says, just make sure he gets home before New Year's. He's a party animal. And then Oliver says that was a terrible joke. And then, Shane goes on to say, I'd hate to lose him, though. He's family.
Oh, yeah.
And the last funny line I have is in the last scene when Shane says to Norman, put that yoo-hoo down in her baby.
Oh.
Do you have any more tear-worthy moments that we haven't already mentioned?
No, I think we talked about them all.
Yeah, I think we talked about all of them. I just have Oliver reading Hannah's letter to God, Mr. Casey's conversation with Shane and Oliver at the hospital about her mother. And then this is when Shane says, once a child loses hope at Christmas, it's hard to get it back.
Yeah.
Oliver and Jordan's conversation in the DLO, which we already mentioned. Jordan's conversation with Shane in the DLO, which we already talked a little bit about earlier. But the exchange that really got me was when, or the lines that really got me teary-eyed, or when Jordan says, so that's where the joy went. And then Shane says, right out the door with my dad. And then she goes on to say, what is it about you? How do you get me to talk about this stuff?
Yeah.
And then he says, I didn't. I think you were just ready.
Yeah, she was ready to kind of get it off her chest, get it out there, try to process, that trauma.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
Yeah, that look on Shane's face, when she first turns around and, starts walking away from Jordan, it just breaks my heart. Hannah having to leave her mom, this was when she's, first rehearsing for the pageant with Shane.
Yeah, that was a sad moment.
Jordan and Oliver's conversation in the chapel, and then Oliver's message to Shane is the last one on my list. Do we want to share the lessons that we learned from the movie?
Yeah, I have 4. I have anything is possible at Christmas.
Yes.
I have, Rita's quote, even if you don't know it, there's always somebody flying around out there that thinks you're special.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the scripture, Matthew 25:40, if you have done it for the least of these, you have done it for me.
Yeah, I have that one.
And Christmas is an opportunity to remember that love came down to find you right where you are, imperfections and all.
Yes. I have never lose hope. Perfect love casts out fear and pain and replaces it with hope. Christmas is a gift, but it's your choice to accept it.
That's a good one.
Stop and smell the poinsettias.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just saying, enjoy your life.
Yeah. Stop and smell the roses. Take a break and just enjoy the small little things.
Yeah. And then I don't have this one written down, but when we talked about it a little while ago, it reminded me to add it to my list, which is always remember, the reason for the season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's easy to forget.
Yeah. We have some trivia for the Postables out there. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. My first question is, what was the year of the current Dear Santa project? So this was, the line from Jordan. The 57th annual, the 52nd annual, the 60th annual, or the 71st annual?
I actually had this as a trivia question too, so I know the answer. It's 57.
Yeah.
That's a good one because he says it like super quick at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
How many dead letters did Shane say they have processed in 25 days? 20,000, 35,000, 15,000, or 4,000?
I wrote this one down. This is 20,000.
Yes. Sorry, I'm taking your questions.
No, that one wasn't my question. I actually just wrote it down just in case it was one of yours. Yeah.
Where was Rita going for Christmas? Tucson, Albuquerque, Las Vegas, or Los Angeles?
She was going to Albuquerque?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure on that one. That was good.
What color are the Postable stockings hanging up in the DLO? Blue, yellow, green, or red?
I think they're red. They're not. Are they blue?
Nope.
They're green.
Yes.
Okay. I was about to just go through all the colors.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. For some reason, I was thinking they were like a maroon. But yeah, okay. I remember now. That's hilarious.
What color is one of the coffee mugs sitting on top of the refrigerator in the DLO as Shane is teaching Norman how to dance?
Oh, Nicole.
Blue, red, white, or yellow?
I have no idea. I'm going to say red.
Eh.
What is it?
Blue.
Oh, I should have guessed.
It's very quick, but you can see, I think the one in the middle is blue.
Okay. That's a good one. Eagle
Thanks.
eye over there.
How many pictures are hanging on the fridge in the DLO in the last scene? So this you can see in the same moment that I just mentioned with the other question when Shane is teaching Norman how to dance. 3, 5, 6, or 4?
3?
5.
Okay.
I think there's like 5 pictures and then there's like one newspaper article, I think.
Oh, okay.
That's all my questions.
Cool. Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's see. We already did one of mine. Okay. My first question is, what kind of earrings was Rita wearing in the hospital while they were curing? Was it silver bells, snowmen, or candy cane?
Oh gosh. Was it candy canes?
Yes. Ding, ding, ding.
Yay.
Second question, what time did the hospital Christmas pageant start? 4:30, 5 o'clock, or 3 o'clock?
Was it 5?
Yes.
Yay.
What was the state that Hannah and her family lived in before they were transferred to Wyoming? Was it Tennessee, New Jersey, or Texas?
Was it Texas?
Yes. Ding, ding, ding.
Yay.
Good job. Got them all right.
Yay.
Yay. Good job.
Thanks. Okay, Postables, I think that wraps up our recap of Signed, Sealed, Delivered for Christmas. We will be back next week to recap From Paris with Love. We will see you next time. Thanks for listening. We love y'all.